Why hello there friends, it's Emma here, the Bookish Princess. Happy Halloween to all of you who are watching this video the day it goes up. I hope you're having a wonderful All Hallows Eve. This isn't much of a Halloween costume, but I am wearing my Harry Potter Quidditch sweater, which I got at Universal. Although I still haven't started my Harry Potter reread. I've been meaning to reread all the books and just have not gotten to it yet. I'm in the middle of some other like children's series rereads this year, and I feel like I should finish them and then we'll move on to Harry Potter. But I thought this was very fallish and would be a sort of a light costume. I hope you guys are having a lovely Halloween. If you're wearing any fun costumes, you'll have to let me know. I did just in the mail today get some adorable cards from my mom. This one is super cute. Isn't that adorable with a little cat? And then I also got a card from my cat. Do you see this? From the cat. How funny is that? Oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. Yeah, so it's just a lovely little card from Cymbeline, my cat, to her big cat. And Cymbeline is sort of indirectly the reason why I haven't had really any uploads since my September reading blog. I've been working hard at my writing project, the Book of Cymbeline III, A Kitten's Tale from Winter to Spring. This is the third book in my Book of Cymbeline series, and I'm so excited. It should be out by middle of November. I have the manuscript finished and the illustrations. It's like I'm just putting the finishing touches on, and I should be ordering my proof this week, and then once I have the proof, I'll be able to get like the actual release date up, which I'm thinking will be November 17th. That's what I'm aiming for, but it should definitely be out before Christmas, before Thanksgiving, so hopefully you can grab one as a Christmas gift. There are, of course, already 2 installments in the Book of Cymbeline. This is the original one from summer to fall, and this is from fall to winter. I thought I would give you guys just a little sneak peek at some of the illustrations in the new book. I really like how this one turned out. It's not quite finished yet. I still need to add some details. There is a new character in this book, so you'll have to see who that is once it comes out. This one I also like. Cymbeline on the bookshelves. She's eyeing the bowl of yogurt to try to get to it. And then this one, I really love how this came out. I won't tell you where exactly Cymbeline is, but you'll have to see if you can guess. And obviously once the book's out, you can read it and find out where exactly her adventures take her. But I'm really pleased with how it's coming along, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. So yeah, definitely stay tuned because I will have the official release date. I'm sure I'll let you know as soon as I get the proof and make sure everything looks good. So I have some lovely books to tell you about, and also a little book haul because I've been buying books. See, I haven't been posting videos, but I have been reading a lot. I have been working on my own book, and also I've been doing some traveling. There are new videos that will be coming eventually because that's just always the way my travel vlogs work. But there were some bookish travels, some visits to authors' homes, which I can't wait to get those videos out. And of course, we had to stop in some bookshops in the cute towns we visited, and I did buy some books. So I thought I'd show you the books that I bought as well as tell you about the books that I read. There was only one that was really Halloween-y, but it was very fun. It was The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I read this with my lovely book club. I've had so much fun with my book club. Shout out to all of you who come to the meetings. I feel like there are like 7 or 8 of us who like pretty regularly come. Sometimes people can't make it. Sometimes they miss for a couple months and then come back in, but it's always a good time, and new members are always welcome. So if you'd like to join, just send me an email, emma@bookishprincess.com. We have 1 meeting left this year. It's going to be after Thanksgiving, December 2nd. We are going to be discussing A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. So that should be really fun. And then I am going to be announcing very soon the schedule for 2024. So we meet once a month on Google Meet and chat about whatever the book was that month, and I had such a fun time talking about Picture of Dorian Gray. There are so many interesting elements. It is really a weird, unusual book. The back says, a story of evil, debauchery, and scandal. Oscar Wilde's only novel tells of Dorian Gray, a beautiful yet corrupt man. When he wishes that a perfect portrait of himself would bear the signs of aging in his place, the picture becomes his hideous secret as it follows Dorian's own downward spiral into cruelty and depravity. There's a portrait at the Haunted Mansion in Walt Disney World, the ride, and Disneyland as well, where there's a young man who looks very dapper and you know, well-to-do, but as you watch, he fades away into a skeleton. And I feel like that is the story of Dorian Gray. It's funny, when I was reading, especially this first sentence, a story of evil, debauchery, and scandal, I'm like, why did we pick this for my book club? But actually, it should say a story of the destruction that evil, debauchery, and scandal can bring, because the portrait itself, like, never lets Dorian or the readers, you know, imagine that all of these sins and all of these wanderings are good. Like, the portrait always shows the truth. There's no getting away from it. Dorian Gray is our main character, but there are actually three sort of main characters. There's an artist, Basil Hallward. He's the one who paints the portrait. And then there is a well-to-do man about town named Harry, Lord Henry. And he meets Dorian Gray as Basil, right? Not basil. Basil is the cooking ingredient. Basil is painting the portrait, and Lord Henry Wotton is there and is spouting his ideas to Dorian. And it's almost like Lord Henry is the bad angel and Basil is the good angel, but then again, not really, because neither of them really understand Dorian. It is such an interesting interplay, though, between their characters, and it makes you think about, you know, nature versus nurture, how much of this is due to, like, the bad influence of Harry, because Harry says all of these outrageous things. It's like he just likes to say these epigrams and see how people react to them, and it doesn't matter if they're true or not, and it doesn't matter if they're serious. In fact, he never wants to be serious. That thread is constantly repeated of, like, oh, nothing serious, please, nothing serious. But there's no getting away from the serious. There's no getting away from your soul, as you can see by the fact that the picture exists. But anyway, Harry's quick witticisms are very, very much Oscar Wilde's typical style. They're the same exact things you see in his plays, The Importance of Being Earnest, like all those really funny, quotable lines, but Dorian takes them seriously, like kind of takes them as gospel truth and decides to live by them, which is really not a good idea. Basil, who's a slightly better character and is obviously trying to do better things, especially the scene later where he's trying to remember a prayer. You can see he's aiming for the good, but he's also just caught up in beauty, and Dorian's beauty, just his good looks inspire him as an artist when he initially paints this incredible picture. So there's this theme of, like, beauty, and how when beauty is not grounded in seriousness, then it can lead you astray. In that theme of influence, there's a line in here about how a man can be judged by his friends, by how he influences his friends. In our book club chat, we were talking about which of these characters Oscar Wilde himself was most like. And one person mentioned that I think Oscar Wilde himself said that Harry was who people thought he was, Basil was who he felt he was, who he wanted to be, and Dorian was who he wanted to be some of the time. I like this description of Lord Henry when he's dazzling the crowd at a party. This is Lord Henry talking. That is one of the great secrets of life. Nowadays, most people die of a sort of creeping common sense and discover when it is too late that the only things one never regrets are one's mistakes. A laugh ran round the table. He played with the idea and grew willful, tossed it into the air and transformed it, let it escape and recaptured it, made it iridescent with fancy and winged it with paradox. The praise of folly, as he went on, soared into a philosophy, and philosophy herself became young and catching the mad music of pleasure, wearing, one might fancy, her wine-stained robe and wreath of ivy, danced like a bacchante over the hills of life and mocked the slow Silenus for being sober. Facts fled before her like frightened forest things. Oscar Wilde is a beautiful writer. I love some of his descriptions like that. And it really is a unique, unusual, like weird in some ways book. There was another line about, I think it was from Lord Henry again, where he said if he wrote a novel, it would be as unreal and beautiful as a Persian carpet. And you almost wonder if that's what this book is in a way. It is, of course, Victober, and I had one big Victober read that kind of consumed a lot of my reading time this month. So I have been reading Anna Karenina by Tolstoy, and I've been making very slow progress in it. I don't know, it just doesn't capture me. There are definitely beautiful passages and chapters I've loved, and things that I very much admire, but for whatever reason, I just don't feel pulled in. And it's so funny, this book is about the same length as Anna Karenina, and I flew through it this month. I couldn't put it down. I had to like force myself to take breaks to get on with other things, but I absolutely loved it. And guys, I think I have finally found a Victorian author that I really click with, because you know, I've read many of the usual suspects, Dickens and the Brontes and, you know, Gaskell, Eliot, Trollope, Thackeray. I admire them. I'm sure I will read them again. I know that they're great, and there's a lot that I've loved in their books, but for whatever reason, none of them have really clicked the way Jane Austen or P.G. Wodehouse or Elizabeth Goudge, the way other authors like just feel like kindred spirits. And this author is absolutely amazing. I feel like this was the second book I'd read by this author, so I feel like I need to hold off before I really decide she's all the way up there. But why are more people not talking about her? The one person who is talking about her is the wonderful Kate Howe. It was thanks to Kate that I first picked up Charlotte Mary Yonge, who everyone needs to read Charlotte Mary Yonge. We need to make the Charlotte Mary Yonge hype train happen. Kate talked up a book called The Heir of Redcliffe last October, and I ended up picking it up. I really enjoyed it. I had also heard about it in Little Women. It's a book that Jo March is sobbing over at one point. I sobbed over it. I don't usually cry during books, but yeah, there were definitely some tragic elements to Heir of Redcliffe. But there were also fun Victorian family scenes, like a lot of different elements to love. But I wonder if it was because of the sort of tragedy, which you could see coming, like it was totally built up, that book, like it impressed me, but it didn't make me think, oh my gosh, I love Charlotte Mary Yonge. But this book, this also was Kate. Kate was talking it up. Pillars of the House is the name of the book. It's 2 volumes. It's about a family of 13 orphans and how they managed to stick together and make their way and stay true to their values and the teachings of their parents. Faith is a big theme in Charlotte Mary Yonge. She does such a beautiful job. All of the characters, they approach their faith in different ways, but it's so authentic and real. And that faith element definitely like sets a book apart to me and makes it beautiful. And Charlotte Mary Yonge does such a beautiful job, but she just makes her characters all feel so real. And it was amazing to me because there are 13 of them, and we meet them when, like, I think the oldest is like 16, and then we follow them for like the next 20 years. And all of them are so different, but their storylines, like, I feel like Charlotte Mary Yonge, I almost wonder, was she drawing from real life? Because it just feels so vivid and varied, and the family patois, the family jokes, like when they're all together and they're like, you know, picking up on each other and like running with some joke, it feels like you're there in the room with them. And it feels like they live right now. You know, obviously it's written in the Victorian era, but it makes the Victorian era come alive. I talked up this book to my mom. She has been enjoying it hugely. Honestly, this book feels like a TV series that you find and you really love, and then you see that there are like 80 episodes of it and you're like, oh, this is great. Because it was actually delightful at the beginning to realize I am going to be with these characters for the next like 800 pages and 20 years, and not actually 20 years, 20 fictional years. There are elements of tragedy in this book as well, but you know, I like that Charlotte Mary Yonge lets you know what's coming. You know, she doesn't like try to slap you in the face with sadness. She leads you gently through it and always shows you that Christian hopefulness that can transform even tragedy into beauty. Yeah, I think I'm gonna need to do a whole blog post or a whole video about this at some point, because I feel like I didn't really collect my thoughts enough, and there are so many things that I love. The father of this family was a clergyman, and so of course got his sons involved in church. St. Oswald's was a very grand old building with a deep chancel a good deal raised, seen along a vista of heavy columns and arched vaults, lighted from the clerestory and with a magnificent chancel arch. The season was Lent, and the coloring of the decorations was therefore grave, but all the richer, and the light coming strongly in from the west window immediately over the children's heads made the contrast of bright sunlight and the soft depths of mystery. Isn't that a gorgeous way to describe the view of a cathedral, like the distance, the soft depths of mystery, more striking. And to an eye to which everything ecclesiastical ecclesiastical was absolutely new, the effect was almost overwhelming. That solemnity and sanctity of long centuries, the peaceful hush, the grave beauty and grandeur. There were so many great, interesting words in different languages and quotations, because every single chapter is preceded with like a little verse of poetry. I'm sure I'll do my usual reading wrap up over on my Substack, bookishprincess.substack.com, so stay tuned for that. And you know, I probably will put together a whole blog at some point, because I loved this so much. Definitely planning to read another Charlotte Mary Yonge, hopefully before next Victober, because this one was so delicious. Although like it was almost too good, because I was like, I should be making progress in Anna Karenina, but Pillars of the House is so good. And amazing the way she brings all the different family members to life and makes all of them sympathetic, even when they're arguing with each other. I loved that family dynamic in particular. Things that bother you about people, but just, you know, learning to live with them. And yeah, just can't recommend it highly enough. I don't think this is a spoiler really, because actually I think there's a sequel to Pillars of the House, which I'm obviously gonna have to get to at some point. But at the end, if you like happy endings, you will, in spite of the tragedy which you see coming, you will like the end, because I felt like every single one of her characters, she just wrapped up so perfectly, and I didn't even see all of the ways she was gonna wrap it up coming. So anyway, just absolute delight. I'm rambling about Pillars of the House too much. I'm losing my daylight. So the other thing that I've been reading this month, there was an audiobook that I finished this month. It was called Allegiance by Timothy Zahn. This is one of the Star Wars Extended Universe books. It does not feature Thrawn. Many of the Timothy Zahn books do. This book takes place right after episode 4, so right after A New Hope, after Alderaan has been destroyed. And there's like some cracks beginning to show in the Empire, because before, you know, everyone thought, well, this rebellion, they're just rebelling against the Emperor, but now a whole world was destroyed with everyone on it. And so it's starting to plant some seeds of thoughtfulness even amongst the stormtroopers, which, if you know Star Wars, you know, like the stormtroopers are drilled to obedience, but there's a group of them that end up going rogue. And that is what Allegiance is all about. Their how they go rogue and where they go. And Luke and Leia and Han are in it. Mara Jade is in it. Darth Vader is in it. There was also a familiar face from some of the Thrawn books that I read, so that was fun because I wasn't expecting that. My cousin Becky loves Timothy Zahn books, and she highly recommends the audiobooks, and they do have so much production value. Like when they're on a spaceship, they're like beeping noises. When they're like in a tap caf in like a cafe, you know, there's like the background noises and like the droids. Just a lot of fun. So if you're into Star Wars and you've never tried that, I would highly recommend it. And then my other main read for the month will take us nicely into our book haul. Last month I read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe for our book club, which was very fun. And I did not actually own the whole set. In fact, I had never read, I read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but had not read the others. So obviously I had to continue on. I decided that I'm gonna go in essentially chronological order. Someone in the comments of my last video, because we were talking about chronological versus publication order for this Narnia series, and someone said enter Narnia through the wardrobe, which I loved that idea. So I did read this first, but then I went back and I read what's technically like the first chronologically, and that is The Magician's Nephew. This tells the Narnia origin story, which I really loved. It was really very magical. All of these books remind me a little bit of Tolkien and Lord of the Rings, and Lewis and Tolkien were friends, but I feel like Tolkien kind of thought his world out for a long, long time. He wrote the languages, you know, he made up languages for his characters and like planned everything very meticulously. Whereas Lewis, it feels a little bit more haphazard. He was just like, oh yeah, okay, we'll have talking animals, but Santa Claus, we'll put him in there, dwarves, dryads, maybe some ancient Greek mythology. Like it's just a little bit more haphazard, but he still is an amazing writer, and I love the symbolism and the Christian themes. I've read The Silmarillion, which is like the origin story for Lord of the Rings, and there were some little echoes of it in The Magician's Nephew. And then I went on and read the third book, which is The Horse and His Boy. I loved this one. This might have been my favorite one that I read so far. We get to see Peter and Susan and Edmund and Lucy while they're kings and queens of Narnia, but they're not the main characters. And there's like a little bit of a mystery and a quest. This actually takes place in a neighboring land, Calormen, I think. There's also definitely a cat theme that I absolutely loved. I won't say too much about it, but there's one scene where the character is walking along through the mountains, trying to get along a mountain path, and the conversation he has there is so wonderful. I had a quotation in mind to tell you guys, but I didn't underline it, and I'm losing the light, so I'm trying to go quick. So I'm gonna put it in the blog. Definitely enjoying my journey through Narnia and planning to continue. I'm about halfway through Prince Caspian. And these shiny copies that I've been holding up, they're really beautiful. The library copies that I started with did have the illustrations, but they were not colored, and I just absolutely, they're even more magical when they're colored. These illustrations are so sweet. And these pages are like a little bit shiny. I just really like them. This is Harper Trophy. I did grab a box set, so I have a nice box, and I've got all of them here. Yeah, this is full color collector's edition Harper Trophy. I love how it's got like illustrations on the front and back. I have The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Isn't that a gorgeous name for a book? The Silver Chair and The Last Battle. Still to go. See, this is why I couldn't start Harry Potter, because I need to get through Narnia first. And then this was just kind of fun because it felt very Victober-ish. And I just found it unexpectedly at one of the bookshops, but it's called The Language of Flowers, and the illustrator is Kate Greenaway, who was a Victorian illustrator. Although I love how many of her illustrations, they're actually in Regency era fashions. So I'm sure for the Victorians, the Regency era was like their vintage, you know, like how we like fashions from the 40s or 50s. This just has the names and meanings of different flowers. Too cute to leave behind. And then I've embarked on a new book collecting project, which I'm very excited about. So I've read pretty much all of Shakespeare's plays. Titus Andronicus is the only one I haven't read, and I've read the summary and have decided I don't want to read it. But I don't actually have a full set of them. My mom has the Arden editions, and those have some pretty amazing footnotes. So I often borrow them from her, but I've been wanting to collect my own. And while we were at different bookstores, this is like the worst light for this, because like I'm blue and the books are blue. Anyway, these are Pelican Shakespeare's, and they all have such cool, kind of artsy, so why is that not focusing? Come on, you can do it. There, oh, no, yes, no. There we go. So this is A Winter's Tale. I got these at 3 different bookshops because luckily they didn't seem too hard to find. This, of course, is Midsummer Night's Dream, which I read earlier this summer. This is Much Ado About Nothing. The histories in this set have like a red backdrop, and the tragedies have like a black backdrop, and they all have, this is one of my favorite parts, they all have these cute little symbols on the spines, and I love it. I love it when there's a good cover and a good spine. So I'm excited to collect more of these. I feel like it'll be a really fun thing when I go and visit a new bookshop. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll have Pelican Shakespeare's, and I'll be able to kind of slowly collect them that way. It could be a sort of travel Shakespeare, and I'm definitely gonna write where I bought each one of them in the front. In fact, I think, yes, look at that, this one has a bookmark from Oblong Books. But yes, so that is my October reading month in review. As always, I'd love to hear from you guys. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me what you've been reading lately. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed. Stay tuned for more about the new Book of Cymbeline. And also, looking forward to Advent, just a little read-along announcement coming up tomorrow. So I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow in the announcement video. Stay bookish, friends. Bye.